Baylor, number 22. And here you see him now, a marvelous performer. Swish.
Elgin Baylor was once described by Lakers teammate Jerry West as one of the most spectacular shooters the game has ever known. But Baylor wasn't only gifted at making shots, he was brilliant at creating them.
You did some things that Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Kobe, myself, we couldn't do.
Elgin Baylor, the great Lakers star. Look at him wheel and deal.
Born in segregated Washington, D.C. in 1934, Elgin was named for his father's favorite watch. He played at the same high school where fellow NBA Hall of Famer Dave Bing once played.
Elgin Baylor was the biggest name in Washington, D.C. basketball when I was growing up.
Baylor played one season at the College of Idaho before transferring to Seattle University, where he led the Chieftains to the 1958 NCAA title game. The Minneapolis Lakers used the #1 overall pick in the 1958 draft to select Baylor. Baylor was an instant success and was the easy choice for Rookie of the Year.
Here he comes. Is as good as gold.
Though his most acrobatic moves were never captured on video, Baylor used his signature running bank shot to score over the game's giants.
Some of the things that we hear about all these players that hang time, and Elgin was hang time, and before hang time, it was hang time.
Baylor, number 22. Watch him drive right through, and he's good.
In his third season, the Lakers became the first NBA team to move to the West Coast. LA fans could identify star power the moment it walked in the door. Baylor averaged 34.8 points per game, second in the league behind Wilt Chamberlain. And on November 15, 1960, he scored 71 against the New York Knicks, an NBA single-game record. The following season, Baylor served his country in the Army Reserves, missing 34 games to military obligations. Yet he averaged more than 38 points per game in the games he did play and was nearly unstoppable in the playoffs.
Baylor into the air, jump, hang, 12-footer, good. Jump shot blocked by Baylor.
Baylor's postseason masterpiece occurred in a Game 5 win during those 1962 finals, when he scored 61 against the Celtics, a playoff record that stood for 24 years. An 11-time All-Star, Baylor was first-team All-NBA 10 times. He could pass like Magic, handle like Curry, and had the strength to post up Bill Russell. Pound for pound, he was an all-timer. At 6'5", 225, Baylor averaged 13.5 rebounds per game over 14 seasons. After playing nearly 900 NBA games, Baylor moved into coaching, and it was while he was coaching the New Orleans Jazz in 1977 he was elected to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. In '96, as the NBA celebrated its 50th season, he was named one of the game's 50 greatest players.
I've laughed with him. I've been to the depth of the ocean with him. I loved him like a brother. And I still do today. This is one of the greatest men I've ever met in my life.
The word legend does not even begin to cover our next guest. I mean, I think there should be a statue of this man on every corner in Washington, D.C., but we will get to that later. In college, he was the Final Four MVP. In the NBA, Rookie of the Year, 11-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA First Team. He once scored 61 points in an NBA Finals game, which is still the record, by the way. And his 27.4 points per game ranks third in NBA history, behind only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. So welcome, Elgin Baylor. Thank you so much for joining us. Growing growing up in D.C., I mean, the way people say your name in my hometown, your hometown, is, I'm so thrilled you're here. You can see I'm kind of losing my composure a little bit. This is Elgin Baylor. I want to ask you first about your book, because this is awesome. You're not someone who has spoken, you don't go out and advertise for yourself a lot. You're not known as a showy guy who's always bragging. So I want to know what the reaction has been. Now that you finally wrote a book, I know people wanted this for a long time. How have people been reacting to it?
Great. I mean, the reactions have been great. I can't say I'm surprised. I am surprised, you know. And everywhere I've gone, you know, people have complimented me, the fact that, you know, book, and they've read it. And they've said some nice things about it.
Said some nice things. By the way, it's called Hang Time, which is because the man invented Hang Time.
The first one.
Sometimes you see guys from the 60s who maybe couldn't compete today. This man was ahead of his time. He would have been just fine playing today's game. Now, Byron calls him Mr. Baylor.
I know.
If Byron calls him Mr. Baylor, you better believe I'm calling him Mr. Baylor.
Respect here.
Mr. Baylor, you had a wonderful honor recently when across the street here at the Staples Center they put in your statue. What was that? Some people said that was way overdue, but what did that honor mean to you to get that?
No, it was great, you know, because they had some other great players there too, getting the statue, and I'm very grateful, honored that to get a statue, and I'm really happy about it.
Well, I want to ask you this, Mr. Baylor, and you know, we've been at golf tournaments and all that good stuff together for a number of years, but you were the first African-American general manager in this league. Have you seen any progress in that position of having African Americans in the front office, or do you think it's just kind of stayed where it has been for a long time? Well, you know, I haven't really followed it much, but you know, I think there have been more, you know, more than they've had in some time. They have a lot of African Americans now, you know, in the front office. Are you happy with the progress?
Well, you're never really totally satisfied, because you're always going to find some fault or something like that. But I think it can and will get better.
I mean, you made great strides for that. You grew up in a segregated era, in a segregated city in Washington, D.C. You went to work for Donald Sterling, and we do not have enough time on this network, much less on this show, to get into the intricacies of that. But you did sue him in 2009, and I know that after he was thrown out of the league, you said very simply that justice had been served. The fact that you stood up for yourself and for other people in that position, you were willing to go to court over it, I know had a huge impact on other executives and coaches and former players around the league thinking what their worth was. Is that something that you still guys talk to you about today?
No, not really. You know, no, it's something that's a dead issue. You know, Donald is here and gone. You know,
yes.
So really, you know, there really hasn't been any discussion about it. No one really want to even talk about it.
Well, I had asked Byron before the show, I said, oh, do you have any Elgin Baylor stories? And I'm thinking, you know, Lakers legend, maybe you came and spoke to them during the Showtime era, and the look on his face, he's like, I didn't play with Elgin Baylor. He didn't mean that, but obviously just the inspiration that you could give. And when we say hang time and you reinvented the game, could you kind of take us through when you first started playing the way you did and just hanging as you went above the rim and playing above the rim? What was the reaction of the other players in the league?
I don't know, because I never was conscious of it, or even really, I'm not downgrading the players, but I never even thought about it, you know, what I was doing. Because when you play, and I'm sure he feels the same way, the defense is going to dictate to what you're doing, how he's guarding you. You know, sometimes you do something that you've never done before, you know, so you really don't know. And I don't know, it's nothing I practice on. I never go out there and try to practice different shots, maybe shoot free throws. But when I play, whatever way the guys guard me, he's determined, really, the defense, if he's playing good defense, determine what you're going to do, what kind of shot you're going to take. You know, you don't go out there with this mind that you're going to do certain things, because it doesn't really work. And you can't play that way. You shouldn't be playing that way. You should let the game, you know, come to you.
I love that idea. I love that. Oh, if I can't go through him, I'll just go over him, which nobody else was doing at the time, which is amazing.
That's what he means by letting the defense dictate.
Yes.
The defense stayed here, and he went over.
He went up and over, which is awesome.
Well, the defense is going to dictate what kind of shot thing you're going to take. Yeah. Now the guy's playing you. He's playing you this way, then you go that way or whatever, go up, you know. The defense will determine that.
You were one of the only people who could go this way at that time, so that